Well, when I published Seducing and Killing Nazis, I was overwhelmed by all the reactions of all the people. And then I thought, okay, maybe I'm still not done with the topic. So I dived more into the topic, and I discovered new facts. And I interviewed more people, also second and third generations. So also to really map out the impact of the war and its trauma also on later generations.
Welcome to Zestful Aging, where I speak with fascinating people from all over the world, from every walk of life, who will inspire you to live with zest. I'm your host, Nicole Christina, and my mission is to bring you optimism about aging and help you make full use of the new opportunities that only come at this stage of life. To find out more about the podcast, hop on over to zestfulaging.com. And while you're there, sign up for my weekly email newsletter, The Insider, where you will get fun and quirky tidbits about the show and my exploits, including when I went python hunting in Florida and my participation in the National Senior Games. And if you love the podcast, I'd be grateful if you shared it with your friends. Our music is courtesy of Judy Banker, who was a previous guest on the show. Find out more at judybanker.com. And our technical director is Stephen Litweiler.
Hey, Zesties. Hey, check out my brand new YouTube channel. I'm sharing Zestful Aging longevity tips, usually while hiking with my dogs, but I'm also sharing about the upcoming guest, the one that's coming up the Saturday following, and I get to tell you some inside stuff about them and what you're going to enjoy about their interview. So come on over, check it out. It's under Zestful Aging on YouTube, and I look forward to seeing you there.
A few years ago, I interviewed human rights attorney and law professor Sophie Poldermans on Zestful Aging Podcast. You may remember her. She is the author of Seducing and Killing Nazis, which is about 3 teenage girls who were Dutch, who were resistance fighters in World War II. Well, Sophie became interested in these girls when she had to choose a high school project, and she was especially taken by the fact that one of the girls, Hannie Schaft, grew up in her hometown, Haarlem, Netherlands. Sophie found herself absolutely riveted by their stories. After all, she was about the same age as they were when they were working in the resistance. Sophie eventually befriended Truus and Freddie Overstegen and worked closely with them when she was working on her book. She worked with them for about 20 years until their death. These 3 girls and others like them were involved in extremely dangerous missions. Among their activities were finding safe houses for Jewish children, forging documents, and seducing high-ranking Nazis by luring them into the woods and shooting them. These girls were not natural-born killers, but they knew that they had to resist the Nazis who had invaded their country, and they had to do it in any way they could. Being young women actually helped them avoid discovery. One of these girls, Hannie Schaft, was executed by the Nazis just 3 weeks before the war ended. Both Overstegen sisters survived, but not surprisingly, Freddie and Truus suffered greatly emotionally from their pasts. They both had terrible nightmares, depression, and PTSD. Both of these girls died in their 90s. Well, since my first interview with Sophie Poldermans, I've been following her work. And when I planned my springtime trip to Holland to see the tulips and visit the Anne Frank house, one of my bucket list items, I knew I wanted to meet up with her if at all possible. She just published to great acclaim a follow-up book about these three young women. At this time, it's only available in Dutch, but it looks like soon it will be translated into English. She did get a big US movie contract for this book, details to follow. Now, this is a much different kind of book. It's much more personal. And Sophie says that she actually puts herself in the skin of these girls. And she told me that it was an emotional challenge at times. Well, I got my wish. Sophie and I made arrangements to meet in Haarlem, a small city on the coast of Holland, to go to the grave of Hannie Schaft near the dunes where Nazi tanks once sat. The cemetery is a bit remote, and we drove up the back road in her little Toyota. It was drizzling, damp, and windy, and very quiet. I was jet lagged, and I felt a weird anticipation. I wasn't quite sure what my reaction would be, and I was hoping that I would be overwhelmed with emotion. Well, Sophie brought a bouquet of flowers, as she often does on her frequent visits. Sometimes she brings artwork made by her 5-year-old daughter to lay on Hannie's grave. Hannie, by the way, is the only woman in the cemetery which honors the resistance fighters from World War II. The cemetery is surrounded by stone, and in the distance, up on the dunes, is a cross. There's an eerie stillness. I was deeply touched by Sophie's willingness to bring me to the memorial. I knew she was incredibly busy with her new book launch. As we sat and had lunch at the train station cafe, I was just struck by the power of podcasting and what a privilege it presented me. It brought me to meet someone I deeply admire, but would never have had the opportunity to meet in my daily life. What follows is the interview I had with Sophie on the steps of the Resistant Fighters Memorial in Haarlem, Netherlands. I hope you enjoy it. You can find out more about Sophie at sophiepoldermans.com, and that's Poldermans. And now here's the interview.
So I'm with Sophie Polderman, who I first interviewed a couple, 3 years ago. She is the author of Seducing and Killing Nazis. She's a Dutch writer and attorney, and she's brought me to the cemetery in Haarlem of, and you'll have to pronounce Hannie Schaft. And you are just about to publish the second book about the resistance, the women resistance fighters in Holland in World War II. You want to talk a little bit about the second book?
Yeah, sure. Well, when I published Seducing and Killing Nazis, I was overwhelmed by all the reactions of all the people. And then I thought, okay, maybe I'm still not done with the topic. So I dived more into the topic, and I discovered new facts. And I interviewed more people, also second and third generations. So also to really map out the impact of the war and its trauma, also later generations. And then I decided to really write it from a narrative perspective. So I really dove into their skin
crawled into their skin. And I really wrote it from the perspective of the three women, Handy Schaft, Truus, and Freddy Overstegen.
Young women.
Yes, very young. Teenagers, really. Yeah.
So, and this is something obviously that's become personal because you come here regularly to honor them.
Yes, definitely. With my family, and her Handy's life story and that of Truus and Freddy really has become a red thread throughout my personal and professional life as well. Yeah, it really has given me the moral compass that I have today, I think. Yeah.
And getting in their skin and trying to understand what would motivate them at this age to be so brave.
Exactly. And it has been a life project for me. I started researching when I was 16, and now I'm almost 42. So I look at it also from a different perspective right now. So I have a little bit more distance, and I can... I also interviewed all of the children of Truus and Freddy to see what the impact of the war really was. And now I can picture better what PTSD was, what it meant, also the context, the time frame. So I have a better, clearer view, of course, obviously, than when I was 16, when I was really focusing on their heroic deeds, and now also on their human side. So
on their human side, did you have any surprising findings in terms of you were talking about the trauma?
I think very common also what I've seen from victims from other wars, because I've also been to the former Yugoslavia and Rwanda, is that people don't talk about the war. And that's also what I grew up with here in the Netherlands. My grandparents also lived through the war, but no one ever talked about the war. But now we know it's more common that it is healthy to talk about the war, but how do you begin? Where do you start? And you need the right help. And I was shocked by the fact that Truus and Freddy, who really lived long lives, they both died at 92, but they were really scarred for life by their trauma. They didn't really get the right help. And it was, of course, because there was not that much knowledge about PTSD, but even when there was, the recognition for PTSD for women is only, I don't know, maybe you're a psychologist, maybe you know that better, but that's very recent. So women were always portrayed as hysterical, and the PTSD as a diagnosis for women veterans was not recognized as such. So that was very shocking. So learning a lot from that too.
Hi, everyone. Have you listened to my interviews with Dr. Bill Rawls? He's been on the show twice, and after I read his book on cellular health and learned about his high standards for quality control, I was sold. I placed an order for Vital Plan supplements immediately. And I encourage you to learn about his work by hopping over to vitalplan.com. If you enter Zestful15, they will give you 15% off your first order. I'm excited for you to try these products. I think you're going to be very impressed. Now back to the show.
What did their children have to say about their mothers?
Yeah, Truus and Freddy were completely different women. Truus is very outgoing, so she did talk a lot about the war. She also gave lectures in schools, and she traveled the world. She met several heads of state, including Mandela, for example, and she went also to Srebrenica in the former Yugoslavia to. She was a sculptor, so she made a beautiful sculpture for the women of Srebrenica. So she was very outgoing, except for the fact that she was not able to save some Jewish children. She really tried, but during one of their missions, she was in a boat with a lot of Jewish children. She tried to save them, but the boat was bombed and tipped over. She could only save one little 4-year-old girl. So that was the fact that she felt so guilty, and that was really eating her up from inside. That Jewish children, she couldn't really talk about that. And also toward her own children. Whereas Truus' children grew up with the rest of her stories, and her oldest daughter is called Hanni, after Hanni Schaft. So that's quite a burden, I think, for her as well, to be named after such a war heroine. And also growing up with a mother who is and was a war heroine, and also a father from the resistance, but still also experiencing the scars. So it was a very difficult position. And then Freddie, she couldn't talk about the war at all. So her way of coping was really to focus on her family, and especially around 4th and 5th of May here in the Netherlands. Those are the National Commemoration and Liberation Day. She would just stay in bed, have nightmares, and later on literally flee the country, so she wouldn't have to deal with all the commemoration services, and she wouldn't be confronted with it. And yeah, so she had episodes of depression, and she didn't tell her children anything, basically. Only when they were later, they found out, and they heard from their aunt what happened a little bit. Also from Freddie's son, Remi. He sent me a very moving letter after the publication of my first book, Seducing and Killing Nazis, because he really thanked me. He said, "Wow, Sophie, I learned so much about my mother that I didn't know before." So Freddie was able to open up in her later years, also to me. So I'm very honored, maybe especially to me, because of course I had more distance and I wasn't one of her children. So yeah, I found it also
Like a
mixed feelings.
mixed feelings.
Yeah, because of course, I mean, it's her life story, and then it's also there. It's supposed there to be there for her children, but so yeah. But I had more distance, so she trusted me with her story.
And what about we call the secondary trauma of hearing? Well, you've also done work in Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia, and this. How do you navigate hearing these stories and knowing these people?
Yeah. Well, I remember you asking me the first time this question, and then I don't know. I'm capable of blocking it out and taking the right distance. I have to with this job or with this field of work, and also visiting post-conflict areas and meeting all these people. But then later on, I thought, no, I do always go for walks. Also during the pandemic, I discovered yoga and breathing techniques, and that really helped me to calm down, because also, especially with this new book, I dove really into their skin, or crawled into their skin. And then it got more to me, and also the children and even the grandchildren. When I interviewed, I thought, man, there's still this intergenerational trauma. This has such a huge impact. And I had seen it in Rwanda and in the former Yugoslavia, but now I knew these people so close, and it really got to me as well. So at times I really needed a break and some yoga and breathing. And now I'm ready to focus on beautiful things.
And art. Yeah. the flowers. I just think it's impacted the way that you have been raising your daughter.
Yeah, of course. My daughter is 5.5. She practically grew up here at the honorary cemetery as well, visiting Hanni. When she was a baby, we all already brought her here. And of course, she doesn't know the scope of the story, and she knows Hanni. Hanni's a super heroine. She never met Truus and Freddie because they already passed away when Sabine was born. But yeah, she must feel something, that there's something special with this place, and that there can be horrible things, but I don't want to transfer worse trauma on her. So we also keep it light and do running games.
But she's getting the message that this woman did something really important.
Yes, that's for sure. Yeah. And hopefully we'll later on, when she gets a bigger picture, guide her, give her a moral compass that's strong enough for this world, and shows her also about women's leadership, because these 3 women were so strong and they really literally took up arms. But yeah, we're strong enough also to see the entire picture, and that's also what I always admired about Therese and Freddie, that despite everything, they still believed in humanity. There was still hope and joy and laughter, and that's so admirable. Yeah,
it really is. Oh my goodness! Do you have any last thoughts that you want our audience to know about these heroines?
Well, often when I talk to people, it's really very far from their beds, because it's World War II, a long time ago, and it's really hard to picture. But then again, if you really translate it to your own world, I think that's very important, because it is about standing up for other people. So look in your own life. Bullying already starts in kindergarten, and people are being excluded on the work floor, being discriminated. That happens on an everyday basis. So you don't always have to talk about the big wars that are far away, but also, the things that are happening in your daily life. And if you have the strength to get up for other people, and if you really can help, if it's only one person, I think it's already worth it. So I hope we can learn from that, derive these lessons from these 3 women.
And I know that this book still has a working title and is not translated yet into English, but where can people find out more about you and your work?
Oh, thank you. Yes, on my website, sophiepoldermans.com. So you can find more about my own background and the books. Hopefully there will be an English translation soon.
Sounds like there will be. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. If you like the podcast, please share it with some of your friends. If you think decluttering could help you feel better and you could use a little assistance with that, check out the online course I've developed with professional organizer and designer Carrie Luderin. It's called Too Much Stuff. And Too Much Stuff is different from other courses or articles or guidance you may have used up. We give you clear steps to deal with the clutter and the tools to help you face the overwhelming feelings and the emotions that come up when we're going through our clutter. And a lot of those emotions are just feeling anxious or guilty or just basically flooded with a lot of different confusing feelings. The course is really practical. It's realistic. The lessons are short and punchy, and they're really manageable. We're not trying to set you up for some long exploratory, super in-depth, burdensome experience. We want something really helpful for you right now. We all need help with our anxiety. So being surrounded by more calm and less chaos can really help. So now's a good time to clear out the clutter so we can focus on what's really important in our lives. So find out more at zestfulaging.com. You'll see more about this under the web courses tab. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email at zestfulaging@gmail.com. Thanks so much. And stay tuned next week for another interview with a fascinating and inspiring guest.